So listen, I love these stories and encounters by the Navy. I know it's been a long since we did one of them, so I'm anxious to hear this. But this video here is titled "The Most Scary and Unexplained Things Encountered by the Navy." I like hearing these accounts. So let's check it out.
What did the USS Trepang encounter in the Arctic? Several years ago, forums lit up after a series of 1971 Arctic UFO photos were released. It is thought that the photos were obtained by the USS Trepang SSN 674 submarine during a trip between Jan Mayen Island in Norway and Iceland. Some UFO hunters assert that the images show proof of covert US aviation testing, while others argue that the ships are extraterrestrial spacecraft searching for suitable locations for oil drilling. Photos purporting to depict a UFO, possibly under attack from US forces, crashing into the ocean surfaced in the French magazine Top Secret in 2015. Even though there is disagreement in the UFO field about everything from the photographs' veracity to what they might truly depict, they are incredibly fascinating and most definitely worth our attention. The dramatic photos were allegedly taken in March 1971 near the Arctic Circle between Iceland and Norway from the USS Trepang submarine.
So well before I was even born or being thought of, they were already dealing with these type of things. Interesting to know.
Alex Mistretta was one researcher who became interested in them right away, stating that he thought the individual who had brought them to his attention was credible. Official photograph is written next to one of the images. One is marked, not to be released, while another reads unauthorized disclosure subject. The fact that they seem to depict sunlight bouncing off both the object's surface, which is floating around 100 feet above the sea, and the water's surface makes them more intriguing. When viewed consecutively, they seem to depict an unexplained object that has either emerged from or is moving towards the water. Before it crashes into the sea, the object appears to experience some sort of explosion. For instance, one of the images depicts an item with a cigar-like shape hovering over the water's surface. But in the subsequent image, it seems to be the same vessel, hovering just a little above the water's surface and appearing to be spewing smoke in the clouds, as if something had gone horribly wrong. What's even more intriguing is that the following photo in the apparent series seems to show the same object, but it has a red dot on it, which some analysts speculate represents the start of an explosion or possibly artillery fire impact. The image that follows depicts the craft appearing to plunge into the ocean, with smoke continuing to billow and water rushing upwards at the impact location. Such photos, as one might expect, created quite a sensation in the UFO community. The majority of accounts state that the officer, John Clicker, took the photos while only using the periscope to investigate the area during a military scientific mission led by Admiral Dean Reynolds Sackett. Interestingly, despite being successful, efforts to find these two individuals have not turned up any more information, with both men saying they saw nothing out of the ordinary while on the assignment. Following Sackett and Kilker's claims, Mistretta suggested shortly after the photos were released to the public that they might have been taken by a crew member of the USS Skate, which was in the same area just a month before. Nigel Watson, a UFO researcher, made the perhaps intriguing observation at the time that they were an odd selection of pictures that feature types of UFOs that have been regularly spotted by witnesses in all parts of the world. Interestingly, the images purportedly acquired from the USS Trepang clearly show shapes ranging from triangles to cigars and even discs. As absurd as it sounds, this ability to shapeshift is something that has been mentioned in other reports and theorized by other investigators and researchers. Bill Smiley, a researcher and commentator on UFOs, would say that he believes the pictures may very well be of the same object. Regardless of the veracity of the images, Watson would comment that they definitely had UFO researchers scratching their heads and speculate that an extraterrestrial base might be located in the north.
We're starting to hear that term a lot more. Base. We're starting to hear that. Why is that? You ever thought about that? See, stuff like that, I start paying attention to, honing in and locking in on it. because I wasn't hearing the term base before, early on, when I was starting to pull back and uncover these conspiracies and different things. Wasn't hearing the term base, but now all of a sudden I'm hearing that more. So that lets me know, man, they know something. And where are these bases? Where could they be? Underwater? Strategic locations around the globe? Like, I'm saying that so y'all could start listening too. And listen out for them referencing possible alien bases throughout the country, across the globe, wherever.
However, as one might expect, a lot of people think that the images might not be as certain as they initially seem. Soon after the photos entered the public domain, John Greenwald of the Black Vault would study them and look into the account's background. He would make sure that the 2 crew members listed in the report were on board and that Trepang was in the specified area in early 1971. All this demonstrates, though, is that whoever leaked the photos just looked up shipping and Navy data beforehand, which are open to the public if we assume there is some element of falsity to the images. This retired Navy Admiral just said that we are in contact with non-human intelligence. Tim Gallaudet, a former Rear Admiral in the US Navy, says he believes UFO whistleblowers like David Grush, who say the government is conducting covert efforts to recover extraterrestrial life, are credible. In an interview, Vice Admiral Tim Gallaudet discussed the continuous effort to learn more about this innovative technology. He stated that there is a lot of interest and research into its potential to offer a sizable advantage in any military conflict. It's a strong argument in favor of keeping the nature of the technology under wraps. He went on to state that we intend to refrain from disclosing and making public all of the recovered technology, keeping in mind the near future. The goal is to present a complete picture of the circumstances without sacrificing the specifics of the involved technologies. He feels that at this particular moment, it is imperative that we recognize and disclose our interactions with intelligence that is not human. The public should be made aware of this crucial information in order to increase knowledge and comprehension of the phenomena. Giving a thorough explanation of how we interact with non-human intelligence is essential. Gallaudet added another comment regarding these unidentified flying objects, claiming that we are in fact coming across non-human entities with technology that is beyond our comprehension and with as yet unknown motivations. The person in question is an oceanographer with extensive experience who has held prominent roles in the US Department of Commerce. In particular, they have held the positions of Acting Under Secretary of Commerce for Oceans and Atmosphere, Acting Administrator of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, and Assistant Secretary of Commerce for Oceans and Atmosphere. They have a strong expertise in this area and have been instrumental in influencing programs and policies pertaining to atmospheric and marine sciences. He believes with all of his heart that he saw footage of unidentified flying objects while in the Navy. His wartime experiences become even more intriguing in light of this intriguing assertion. The existence of extraterrestrial or non-human intelligence has long been a source of heated discussion and skepticism. Admitting to the public that one believes in these phenomena has frequently resulted in social shame and ridicule.
And that's a huge problem. Probably why we haven't progressed forward with this whole thing like we should have by now. Especially by now. It's because so many people still to this day, and you would think by now that they would have created, and I thought that's what they were doing with these recent congressional hearings when David Grush and all of them came beforehand, but what have we heard from that? Nothing. Complete radio silence. I would have thought that would spark more people to say, hey, okay, nothing happened with these guys, so it's safe for me to come forward. I'll be protected. People will actually hear me and let me speak. Let me get this off my chest, this weight that I've been holding all these years, and I won't have any backlash from it. But we still haven't created a safe space for these people yet.
There has been a discernible change in the narrative since media reports of these accusations started to surface. This developing plot is further aided by the notable rise in the frequency of various situations involving the government. Humans tend to be skeptical, and this propensity is essential to developing a more perceptive and clear understanding of the world we live in. We can traverse and interact with reality more skillfully if we cultivate a healthy dosage of skepticism. But when it comes to other topics, such as the possibility of alien life or unexplained flying objects, a lot of people choose to draw a clear line, continuing to be skeptical or rejecting such ideas completely. The scientific community and the armed services have worked together to establish legitimacy and credibility for the last 6 years. Inside the venerable halls of Stanford University, the esteemed Pathology and Immunology Department is home to Dr. Gary P. Nolan. Over the course of his distinguished career, he has made noteworthy advances in the field of cancer research, an area in which the prestigious institution and the US government have collaborated extensively for many years. In light of this stellar resume, Dr. Nolan is without a doubt the best expert available to offer a scientific viewpoint regarding the possibility that extraterrestrial life exists on Earth. The claims made by the person in question are undoubtedly not intended for individuals who are easily alarmed. This audacious assertion sparked a commotion and shocked everyone when it was announced. Had the identical comment come from an average UFO enthusiast undertaking their own study, it probably would have been brushed off with little thought. However, because of his considerable achievements in this sector and his links with the government, Dr. Gary Nolan has a solid reputation. As a matter of fact, even among the most ardent supporters of this field, Dr. Nolan continually chooses to apply science to the evaluation of the numerous instances that he is presented with. Dr. Nolan is so positive that non-human intelligence exists on Earth that it is impossible not to find oneself attracted. He is adamant that there is no room for dispute because intelligence of this kind has already made a significant presence known. In addition, he asserts unequivocally that the case is one of complete clarity, free from any room for doubt. But what's most interesting about his claim, which is that the American government was involved in UFO crash retrieval programs, is that he withheld precise facts from the public. Still, this claim raised the level of mystery around his whole claim. A fleet of UFOs swarm various US Navy ships. A swarm of 3 unidentified objects was seen pursuing 4 US Navy destroyers off the coast of California in a recently released infrared image. The Navy has made public the blurry photo, which purports to depict 3 tiny dots, unmanned aerial systems, or UAS, hovering close to the USS Paul Hamilton. This was just one of several incidents that naval vessels witnessed over several weeks in July 2019, when numerous destroyers spotted these devices. Around 8 in the evening on July 17th, just after the USS Paul Hamilton stopped using the automatic identification system for location broadcasting, these 3 unmanned aerial systems suddenly materialized close to the ship. Ships are not compelled to transmit their whereabouts continuously, and when increased security is desired, they typically turn off the transponder. The deck log for the ship does not show this choice, but logs from earlier in the month show that other ships in the vicinity similarly shut off their automatic identification system during unmanned aerial system activity. Furthermore, the UAS did indeed show up shortly after the USS Paul Hamilton turned on its navigation lights. One of these objects was observed 1 nautical mile away just before 8 in the evening. After looking through papers obtained through a Freedom of Information Act request, reports stated that 20 minutes later, the timeline shows that 2 more were spotted, one of which fell into the river. A swarm of these mysterious objects was detected by the USS Paul Hamilton about half an hour later, and by 9 in the evening, one of them was positioned exactly 2,000 feet overhead. The unidentified objects left the ship at 9:15, traveling at nearly 70 miles per hour, and returned in less than 10 minutes.
So, they can sneak up on us and be on us before we can even blink and know that they're there. They can quickly have us surrounded from all angles, above us, in the air, on water, underwater. We don't know what we're dealing with here, bro. We have no clue the capabilities. And every time we see something or there's a sighting, we're seeing their capabilities of things that they can do. We're figuring out something new. This should make you nervous.
It was reported by the USS Hamilton that the swarm continued for over 3 hours. Because reporters only saw the condensed briefing slides, it is uncertain how many UAS the Navy destroyer saw in total. According to news outlets, one of the participating ships, the USS Omaha, disclosed partial ship logs. Reporters claim that the Navy may have introduced portable counter-drone gadgets and that they did carry out countermeasure training later in the week. Chief of Naval Operations Admiral Michael Gilday stated in April 2021 that the military was unable to identify the aircraft, and the Department of Defense has refused to respond to inquiries thereafter. The night of July 14, 2019, saw the start of the drama. To determine who or what the mystery flying objects were, an onboard intelligence squad called the Ship Nautical or Otherwise Photographic Interpretation and Exploitation Team was tasked with recording and looking into encounters with unfamiliar vessels. Reports indicate that the USS Kidd entered quiet mode shortly after the sighting, reducing communications while it attempted to determine the extent of the threat. It made contact with the USS Rafael Peralta, a nearby battleship that was also out on patrol, and asked them to use its onboard photo intelligence team. Unusual lights were noticed by several other US Navy destroyers that were patrolling in the area. According to its record, the USS John Finn also noted UAV activity and saw a flashing light at 10. The USS Rafael Peralta noticed a white light hovering over the flight deck a little more than an hour later. Even in bad visibility and at 16 knots, the mysterious object managed to stay in the hover over the destroyer's helicopter landing pad. The approximately 90-minute interaction was far longer than any drone that can be purchased commercially. The drones reappeared the following evening, this time while the battleships were cruising nearer to the Californian mainland. The USS Rafael Peralta was the first to notice them, and at 8:39 p.m., the ship's Ship Nautical or Otherwise Photographic Interpretation and Exploitation Team was activated. Logs indicate that the USS Kidd had also encountered drones around 8:56. According to logbooks, drones were flying all around the USS Russell with an altitude variation of 1,000 to 700 feet and an apparent direction of motion. In less than an hour, the USS Russell made 9 distinct contacts with drones. The USS Kidd then became aware of multiple unidentified aerial vehicles circling the ship at 9:20 that evening. Up to 4 drones also bombarded the USS Rafael Peralta. The Carnival Imagination, a passing cruise ship, phoned it to report that they had also seen up to 6 drones. There was a flurry of activity for 3 hours, lasting almost till midnight, and none of the warships could pinpoint the precise location of the drones. Notified were the commander of the Pacific Fleet and the Chief of Naval Operations, 2 of the Navy's highest-ranking officers. The FBI's Los Angeles Bureau was also called in to investigate the event. According to the investigation that followed, only a few private ships that might have served as drone landing pads were present in the vicinity at the time. The FBI just declassified a document saying the United States Navy has patents on otherworldly tech. There has been a noticeable increase in claims in the last few years that connect the Navy to unidentified flying objects. The Department of Defense began the process of establishing a comprehensive program for studying unidentified flying objects in the year 2000. This program was created especially to gather important data about these mysterious aerial phenomena, investigating their technological capabilities and places of origin. The project, dubbed the Advanced Aviation Threat Identification Program, brought together a committed group of military intelligence personnel, experts, and high-level security clearance holders and received a large amount of funding. Finding out if these unexplained flying objects presented any risks to national security was its main goal. Without delay, this committed group gathered a wide range of strange sighting accounts from pilots across the nation. Supporting documentation, including radar data and camera footage, was included with these reports. Their dedicated efforts were directed towards attempting to determine the nature and identities of these unexplainable objects by correlating these encounters with known international aircraft signatures. This program's research was done in an astonishingly deep manner. Taking a broad approach, the group carefully examined every sighting and the information that went along with it in an effort to get a deep understanding of these mysterious occurrences. Their investigation included a broad spectrum of topics, including possible ramifications for national security. The Advanced Aviation Threat Identification Program's thorough compilation and analysis of UFO encounters is a testament to their dedication to advancing our understanding of these occurrences. They wanted to increase our understanding of the enigmatic and frequently bewildering sightings recorded by reliable witnesses, so they increased the scope of their investigations and looked into numerous dimensions. It was soon evident after carefully examining and gathering the data that we would not be able to find satisfactory answers for these enigmatic ships and their origins. Remarkably, a significant portion of the program's eminent researchers were persuaded that these unexplained aerial objects and the corresponding craft were not Earthborn. These mysterious items also displayed skills and behavior that defied understanding. This astounding disclosure might be the Department of Defense's closest, if not outright admission, of the possibility that extraterrestrial vessels exist. The department's exceptional response highlights the seriousness of these encounters and the enormous mystery that surrounds them. It's interesting to note that the US Navy recently made an unexpected claim about possession of patents for odd and non-traditional technology. The United States Navy is currently working on developing a small-scale fusion reactor that might power whole cities, thanks to these patents. But one particular invention in particular has sparked a lot of interest. The Navy has disclosed designs for a hybrid aerospace underwater craft and an inertial mass reduction.
I wonder where they got that idea to be able to do something like that. Not saying they can't come up with it on their own, but seeing different crafts and unidentified objects go into the water, come out different speeds and do different things, kind of start making you think like, and this is a whole untapped potential that we haven't tapped into yet that we could be utilizing. Something that could give us an advantage against our allies and stuff like that. Like, come on now. Think about that. Just think about that. I wonder where they kind of got the notion to do that. Interesting.
The idea of inertial mass reduction suggests a revolutionary development in propulsion technology with the goal of lessening an object's inertial mass to increase its speed and maneuverability. These innovative patents have drawn attention and intrigue from many, earning them the nickname UFO patents. The War Zone, a trustworthy source renowned for its perceptive reporting, released the first report on these patents. They even succeeded in identifying the great scientist who was responsible for these inventions, Dr. Salvatore Cesar Pais, who has given his knowledge to the Navy and the Naval Air Warfare Center Aircraft Division. Dr. Pais goes into further detail about the subject matter and explains the basic idea behind these patents, which is the controlled movement of electrically charged particles via the application of rapid acceleration transients or accelerated vibrations to rotational motion. Consequently, extraordinarily strong electromagnetic fields with enormous energy and intensity are produced. These patents are incredibly thorough, providing a thorough and in-depth investigation of electromagnetics and its possible applications. The prospect of creating a revolutionary propulsion system that may propel a vessel underwater at exceptional velocity is one feature of the patents that has attracted the interest of UFO researchers. Some people doubt the viability of these concepts, saying that our current technological capacity cannot make them a reality. Others assert that the Navy already has this cutting-edge technology, which they call USOs, or Unidentified Submerged Objects.
Yeah, we've heard them, maybe not the Navy, but other agencies reversing engineering crafts that they might have recovered from a crash site, alien or UFO crash site. And the technology that was there and present from that crash site, they reverse engineered it. And now we may have certain capabilities that other people don't have because we know how to use it or produce it, manufacture it or whatever. But where did it come from? Yeah, those crash sites.
Unidentified flying objects are well known to the public, but not everyone may be aware that there are unidentified submerged objects as well. These are unseen aerial vehicles that have been observed in and around seas. Some people even claim to have seen these craft sink below the surface of the water without disturbing the surface. Interestingly, military troops have also reported seeing enormous UFOs silently descend into the ocean and stay submerged for several hours, proving that amateur observers are not the only ones who have reported seeing these encounters. A growing number of these sightings have prompted conjecture over the potential presence of submerged bases that these vessels may use, implying a more extensive and intricate phenomenon at play. USOs are said to resemble ordinary UFOs a great deal, raising concerns about any possible differences between the two types of UFOs or the possibility that conventional UFOs could operate underwater. Another source claims that the aforementioned technology already exists and is being progressively made available to the broader public. The rationale for this strategy is that the creators are conscious of the rising skepticism and the heightened interest in finding the truth. As such, they have chosen to give up on confidentiality. According to this point of view, the technology in question is gradually becoming more widely understood and is no longer a closely guarded secret.